What would you do if everything you believed about who you are turned out to be false? How would you feel if the foundation of your identity was shaken by a single piece of paper? Would silence protect you or break you? These are the haunting questions that now surround Princess Beatrice, as a deeply personal and devastating revelation sent shockwaves not just through her world, but through the entire royal family. What started as whispers, long dismissed as tabloid gossip, suddenly erupted into a royal crisis that no one was prepared for. At the heart of this emotional storm lies a confidential DNA test, one that should have remained a secret, but instead uncovered a truth too powerful to contain. For Beatrice, the woman she believed she was might not even exist. It began with rumors, persistent yet often ignored, the kind of background noise that floated through royal circles for decades. There were always murmurs about Beatrice's paternity, but most people dismissed them as cruel speculation. After all, she was Prince Andrew's daughter, born into the House of Windsor, photographed at every milestone, her face a familiar image of royal continuity. But those whispers never truly went away. They waited quietly until the moment they could no longer be silenced. That moment arrived when sources close to the palace confirmed the existence of a private DNA test, one that had been carried out in secret and whose results were so shocking they couldn't be buried. The test, comparing the DNA of Princess Beatrice with that of Prince Andrew, did not just reveal an error. It exposed a contradiction, a deep, undeniable, and irreparable discrepancy. No one knows exactly who initiated the test. Some believe it was Beatrice herself, struggling with a lifelong feeling that something had always been off. Others point fingers at a palace insider, perhaps motivated by revenge or a desperate need to expose the truth. Regardless of how it began, the results found their way into the wrong, or perhaps the right, hands. And that changed everything. The palace responded as it always has, with silence. No denial, no confirmation. Just the cold, deliberate quiet that often speaks louder than any official statement. That silence only fueled curiosity, urgency, and fear. As one insider bluntly put it, you cannot hide the truth when DNA is involved. For Beatrice, the truth came crashing down one quiet morning. She was spotted leaving a secluded estate, tears in her eyes, clutching a folded envelope believed to contain the test results. Witnesses described her as emotionally shattered. She locked herself in her room for hours, weeping, unable to accept what the evidence suggested. For her entire life, she had believed she was a royal by blood. But now, that identity, so carefully cultivated, so deeply internalized, had been torn apart. Inside the palace, efforts to contain the situation quickly collapsed. The report was leaked, and the story that once seemed like baseless gossip was now national news. Old jokes about Beatrice resembling someone other than her father suddenly felt cruelly accurate. Much of the focus turned to Sarah Beatrice's mother, whose social life in the late 1980s had been the subject of endless speculation. Her friendship with a dark-haired businessman, once dismissed as harmless, was now being re-examined in a harsh new light. Sarah, who had always managed to brush aside the press with charm and wit, now appeared visibly shaken. Her silence, too, spoke volumes. Friends say she was heartbroken, not just for herself, but for the daughter she had tried to protect. Sarah's past had never fully escaped the tabloids. Her marriage to Andrew was rocky almost from the start. While still technically married, she was often seen with others, including a wealthy Texan whose presence in her life was never fully explained. Over the years, she spoke carefully about that time, never revealing too much. Her memoirs hinted at pain, but never specifics. Now, her protectiveness made sense. Was she shielding her daughter from a truth too painful to bear? Or was she trying to rewrite history to preserve the image of a royal family that had already weathered so many storms? The consequences of that DNA result were more than just personal, they were institutional. If Prince Andrew was not Beatrice's biological father, everything from her official titles to her place in royal succession was suddenly in question. Friends say Beatrice, was devastated not only by the revelation, but also by her mother's long silence. For Beatrice, every childhood memory, every public engagement, now felt like part of a carefully curated illusion. The betrayal was overwhelming. Her royal upbringing, once a source of pride, now felt like a performance built on a lie. Prince Andrew's reaction only deepened the hurt. He withdrew from public life even more than usual, refusing to address the rumors or provide clarity. His silence toward Beatrice was deafening. They had once shared a close, affectionate bond, now replaced with distance and awkwardness. At a recent royal event, Beatrice stood apart from him, visibly uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact. Observers noted how unnatural the interaction was, a far cry from their previous warmth. Some say she confronted him privately, demanding answers, but Andrew reportedly offered nothing. No denial, no comfort, just retreat. Beatrice's sister, Princess Eugenie, chose not to get involved. Her emotional distance was obvious, and while she may have thought silence was the best way to cope, it left Beatrice feeling even more isolated. The one person she had always counted on, her father, had nothing to say. The one person she shared her royal childhood with, her sister, kept her distance. And her mother, who held the key to the truth, was too paralyzed by guilt to speak. Behind the scenes, legal teams scrambled to contain the damage, not to challenge the results, but to stop their spread. But it was too late. The truth was out. The public, once skeptical, now believed. And Beatrice, once one of the most cheerful and spirited members of the royal family, became almost invisible. She canceled events, avoided cameras, and withdrew from royal duties. Friends say she is trying to piece her life back together, away from the palace, away from the pressure, away from the scrutiny. But it's not easy. How do you rebuild a sense of self when everything you believe turns out to be uncertain? This wasn't just about one test or one secret. It was about the collapse of a story that had been told for decades. A fairy tale rewritten in real time, with the princess left in tears. Beatrice had always carried herself with grace, dignity, and a sense of purpose. Now, even that seemed like a mask she no longer knew how to wear. The palace, still silent, offered no support in public. And without a clear narrative to fall back on, Beatrice was left in the cold, emotionally and symbolically. The deeper tragedy here is the cost of silence. If Sarah had spoken sooner, perhaps the truth could have been handled privately. If Andrew had offered a heartfelt response, maybe the public would have shown more sympathy. Instead, everyone remained quiet, and in that silence, Beatrice suffered the most. Her pain, once hidden, became visible to anyone paying attention. Her identity crisis, once private, became a national conversation. The story also raises questions that go beyond royal protocol. What is the value of truth when it comes at the cost of everything else? Can love survive such a betrayal? Is loyalty more important than honesty? These questions, so personal and raw, are now part of Beatrice's everyday life. And while she may find strength in time, the wounds left by this revelation will likely never heal completely. Princess Beatrice's life has changed forever. The girl once photographed smiling beside her father now wonders if that man was ever truly hers. The woman who stood confidently in royal ceremonies now searches for a new identity, one not defined by titles or lineage, but by her own truth. Her story is no longer just a royal one, it's a human one. One filled with pain, courage, confusion, and a longing for peace. If you found this story as emotional and thought-provoking as we have, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that go beyond the headlines and into the heart of those who live them. Your support means a lot, and it helps keep these important conversations going.